It's Your Future. I'm Ada Harden, Volunteer Resource Specialist for AISD. It's Your Future is a program for AISD students and others who want to learn more about specific career fields. People from all walks of life will be here to share some of their experiences with you on this program, and we hope that our guests will help you become more aware of what you can do now to plan for the kind of future you want. You know, it's good from time to time to listen to people and how they shape their lives and plan their futures, and listening to these people I know will help you. We have on our show a very special person today. He is an actor and has acted in a number of different places all over the country. He's a producer, a writer, and a number of things. We're going to welcome to our show Mr. Joe Sears.
Thank you, Ada. Tuna. Thank you very much.
Welcome to our show, and thank you so much for coming by. We know how busy you are.
It is a busy week here in Austin, it is.
You're doing so many things, and I want you to start telling us about the show and some of the things you've done, your background training, and all this. Just start out talking to us.
Well, I can talk. That's no problem. I do love to talk, but I just want to say I am glad to be here because I do believe in what you're trying to do. I think it's important for young people to be inspired early in what they want to choose as a career. But I have been working at what I do, Ada, ever since I was in my early teens. I would go into my bedroom and put on a Leslie Gore album. You know, and people go, Leslie Gore, man, he's square, you know, but that was the 60s.
Right.
I'd put on Leslie Gore or, you know, some of those early funky songs, and I would just play and pretend that I was up there, and I would take the microphone and I would do, you know, Otis Redding. And I had this little world that I lived in, and out of that, those were my early beginning signs that I wanted to entertain. And then I started finding out that I could make people laugh. And I learned how to use that. And then when I got to college, you got involved in drama, and you kind of lay out more what you have more opportunities to fulfill your dreams. But with Greater Tuna, the success behind that comes as a result of 12 years of professional hard work in the area, the region, San Antonio, Austin, community theater, semi-professional theater, going into a building where there is no lights, getting a coffee can, screwing in a light bulb and putting it on a little light dimmer board. You know what I'm talking about. The very grassroots.
Absolutely, yeah.
12 years of doing that has paid off. I did go to New York 10 years ago, and I got a part with a company there in a musical that toured. But New York at that time was not for me. I was 23. It's a rough town to be in at 23. And I came back to Texas and started working with young people in the low-income areas of San Antonio, a government program that was headed up by a psychiatrist who believed in inspiring young people to do things other than drugs and the street life thing. And I thought, well, that's cool. And as a result, his teachings just kept me there year after year. And once again, all of that work of writing with the kids and working with them only helped me in an area that I had never developed. And as a result of leaving that after 8 years, then Greater Tuna started to happen. I could write, and my acting had always been kind of polished. So that's kind of it in a nutshell as to how Greater Tuna and Joe Sears became a success. A lot of hard work.
Wonderful. And it was absolutely wonderful. I had an opportunity to see it on last Tuesday, and just wonderful. And I thought about all of I left my glasses at home, okay? And so I didn't have glasses to read. And each time that the scene changed, you know, there you were, and I said, I think that's him, and I didn't know. How in the world do you make those changes like that and play 10 different parts? It's just incredible.
That's the #1 question that's asked of the Greater Tuna cast. There's no secret to it. Once again, I have to go back and say again that 12 years of hard work paid off from the characters. Learning to be a character actor, doing little parts when you want the lead, you know. Other people are over in the corner going, why didn't I get that part? And, you know, and I'm very satisfied to have that little gravedigger in Hamlet. Those little parts, the ability to play those, and so many of them over the years, gave me the ability to do all of these characters. So that's the first thing. The second part is a dresser. two people who stand there, and it's like choreography. They change the same thing every night very quickly, and you go from one person to another in 6 seconds. So it's a little bit of experience and magic combined. But people do have a good time. The commercial on TV, I don't know if you saw it.
I did.
That's a good idea of how it can boggle your mind in some ways. That was done in New York, and I thought they did an excellent job with that.
It was absolutely beautiful.
People were going around in New York saying, doing, well, stare. You know how people will pick up on, especially kids will do that. They go, well, stare, in the subways. It had quite an impact on New York. I'll share this with you. The New York Times hated Greater Tuna.
Oh, really?
And you know how powerful they are. They like to close shows when they open. But all of the newspapers and magazines came out and said, hey, this thing, we don't know what it is, but it's crazy and it's fun. And the New York Times just kind of
yeah.
And as a result, we survived their negative review.
Wonder why? I mean, why were they so negative about it?
They didn't understand it. They had, the guy who wrote the review, we have figured out, had obviously never been through a small town, had never experienced bigotry.
Right,
And either that or he was so liberal and pseudo that he just was over his head. And that happens with critics.
Yes.
They're not God.
Yeah.
But we did survive their review, and the show is still running in New York. There's a TV series based on it.
Great.
And it's all from the love you put into your project. And once again, back to the subject, that's what you have to do as a young person, is have a love for what your dream is and go after it. And don't let anything stand in your way. Set your limits, and well, we can talk about that as we get into it. But New York, that review and some of the negative things that came as a result of that, standing up to that and saying we're going to continue with this, helped us through, and it's still a big hit.
And to have that drive to decide that I'm going to do it regardless, you know, and it's not going to be easy.
It's very important to do that, to not let anyone discourage you if you know that you're right. And your instincts tell you whether you're right or wrong.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And it was just breathtaking. You had me in the floor the entire time. You and Mr. Williams also. It was just wonderful. I understand that the characters of the show, The Greater Tuna, were some of those or that of your childhood days. Is that true?
One of the popular characters in the show, Ada, is Aunt Pearl.
It was wonderful.
Aunt Pearl, yes. She's very eccentric. I think everybody has a grandmother or an aunt like Aunt Pearl. But this particular Aunt Pearl poisons dogs. And I have to say, there's a reason why she poisons dogs. She was actually in the Depression to take care of the stray dogs. That was her way of disposing of them. But we use the bitter pill, as it's called in Greater Tuna, to stimulate a lot of funny bones in the show. And people at first go, oh my God, this old woman is going to poison this dog. And she does, but it's the most outrageous laughter, as you know. Yet she's based on a real aunt. I do her mannerisms, I use her voice and her walk. But it's not based on anything. We just borrowed the bitter pill. And she was such an inspiring character. And I think to young actors, it's important for them to be observant. If you see some funky character in the neighborhood, who's just always doing something, it's important to watch why they do that, how they do that, if you're going to be an actor. Because someday you're going to be asked to come up with a character, and that guy that you saw going down the street, or that old woman who sits on the bench and just carries on about everything that goes by. You're going to have, you're an actress.
Yes.
You have to use those things. And as I grew up, I enjoyed observing people.
Right, that's true. And when you said that, I was reminded of the time that I played the part in the A-Man Corner. And the producer said, now, you have to come up with your own character. And I thought, and you know what I did? I put together about 3 different little old ladies at my church.
There you go.
And boy, what did I come out with?
Yes.
really.
A great resource.
Yes, absolutely. And
well, that's how you do it. If you're interested in an acting career, you got to be observant, and because you're going to use those things. And Eddie Murphy is one of the greatest of the new up-and-coming character actors.
Yes.
At least I think so. Robin Williams has a formula that works for him. I met him in New York. He's just off the wall. But Eddie Murphy, there's a certain finesse to what he does. He's a character actor. He can pull out from his memory someone he saw on the street, as well as imitate Stevie Wonder or anybody. That is the markings of a great actor. Obviously, he has spent time studying people without staring at them. You know, he has an insight. Those are instincts he followed.
And you know, when he plays the part of Stevie Wonder, I mean, you know, I have a hard time, you know, making the difference between the two of them. He's so great at that.
He's got the movements down very well.
And it's like you say, you have to, you know, really want to do it and work at it. And
well, discipline, well, you know, you and I have had to go through certain disciplines to get where we are. And sometimes people think, well, discipline, and they get the word turned around, but in the art form, if you want to be a dancer, a singer, an actor, or even a painter, the discipline of an everyday, you know, what am I going to do this day for my career or for my craft? Whether it's writing in a journal or attending a workshop in some community drama. And there's a lot going on in Austin.
Absolutely.
You got to find them. You got to want to find them, and it's not easy to get out there and every day after school or once a week go to a ceramics workshop or an acting class. But if you do that, after a while you'll start feeling good about that process.
Right. Absolutely.
And that gut feeling inside that you know you're doing something for yourself, that's what takes you to the next step. And that next step is going up and auditioning for community production. And Cheryl Hawkins, our mutual friend, she's a playwright.
Wonderful.
One of Texas' best playwrights.
Right.
She wrote a play called Blackout, and it featured like 6 black young people in it. And we went over to the east side of Austin and auditioned some of these young people.
Oh, were you with her at that time?
Yes, I directed Blackout at Transact.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I considered it a big success. But the people that performed in that were off the street, had never been in a play. And I don't know if you saw it, but one of the leads was Claudette. She's an she was like the one in your play. An outrageous character. And this young lady was like 16 years old. She was as good as anything you see on TV. She tore the audience up. Austin loved her. She's never done anything since, but we had to go get her. But she saw a notice, audition for this play. And she thought, well, I'm going to do it. And was scared to death. And as a result, she was a star for a while. Now, I haven't heard from Starla since, but she's excellent. And I think that as that young lady, if she was just to start that discipline on a day-by-day basis, or find somewhere to go to let that, she could go so far.
Right.
But it's hard, Ada. We talk about the peer pressure. You know, a lot of people.
Competition.
The competition, or your friends making fun of you. You know, why do you want to go down? You know, the Mexicans. You know, ole joto. You know, and that's, you know, it's, you got to just shut all of that out. Because as an artist, you've got to go after it. And the Mexican, the black, or the Anglo, whoever has achieved what they achieved, will tell you they had to shut all of that out. And you go after what you believe in. And you can't let those things hassle you. But with Starla and people like that, and a lot of young people watching today, it's important to follow those dreams. You don't have to shut your friends off. Just tune out the names or tune out the thing, because what they're making fun of sometimes is something that they actually want to do themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do believe
it's hard to understand that when you're young.
Yeah, it is. It really is. And I have such concern for young people, you know, because I know I've been there, you know, and we understand.
Yes, we do.
What they're going through, and it's something like you say too, Joe, is that you just cannot give up. You have to continue to strive to succeed.
Striving will lead you to what you want. You got to believe in it. If you don't believe in it, it won't happen.
Absolutely.
You were telling me how at UT, you know, you did a role there, and that led to this and that led to that. Of course, you were in school. That's a discipline in itself, you know, for anybody. But things have really opened up for you, and the same thing happened for me. I had an example to tell you about young people getting involved. There is some of these programs around town. There's one on the east side, and I've forgotten the name of it. I had it this morning. But they are holding drama workshops after school. I'll tell you what, if you get a lot of phone calls on this, you give me a call, and I will get the name of it so that you can tell everybody. But there's drama workshops going on over there. And the guy that's running them is pretty good. You know, he's a young guy, but his heart's in it, and he's guiding these young people through exercises in drama and bringing out some of those, you know, because they'll come into a room, you know, and stand there and look around for about the first day, you know, and they'll think, oh, this isn't for me, and they're thinking their friends are outside going, what's that dude doing?
And you think everybody in there is better than you.
Right.
You can do it better. Why am I here?
You get the heebie-jeebies, you know, I can't get up there and do that. And after a while, you loosen up, and, and then you do something, and people start going, oh, that's pretty good. There's different types of acting. Well, I know what I was going to talk about. Career days. I think we've got enough time to cover this.
Certainly.
When you and I were growing up, nobody was interested in becoming an actor or TV, and the career day at schools was the Air Force and home ec and engineering, you know. I mean, that never interested me. I mean, it interested a lot of people, but it never interested me, and thus I never went to career night. But nowadays, schools are having career days. And a lot of young people, you know, have the opportunity to write down a request. And if you're interested, write it down. Tell your principal, I want to see some actors, because there's plenty here in Austin that would come and share some of these things we're talking about. But television has served as a means to propel people's interest in it. You know, I want to be rich. I want to make that money, you know. I want to be the Dukes of Hazzard. And they are making a lot of money and commercials. But a lot of that is luck, as you and I know. A lot of it is luck. If you're interested in that as a career for the sake of money, that's great motivations. But to get there, you got to have some training.
Absolutely.
Even though there's a lot of bad actors on television. Serious actors, though, go after the art form, and as a result, the money comes after. So when I do career nights with high school students now, the place is packed with people who want to know about acting. And a lot of them are just there to learn about the money. You know, they don't want to hear about the discipline stuff. And you can just, you kind of have to weed them out. Because in our business, there are thousands of people who have no business being in it. And they're in it just for the sake, because it ain't, you know, it's easy work. But they really, some of them don't know the first thing about discipline.
And then too, what you have to realize too is that a lot of times that when you're doing it, like the community theaters and what have you, there's no money involved in that.
There is no money involved in that.
It's all voluntarily done.
But that is what's going to get you disciplined as to achieve your goals. You've got to go out. Now, for ethnic groups, it's very difficult to do community theater because people are still at the point where, well, we need a maid or we need a gardener, you know, and that is still very prevalent here in Texas or in everywhere. But new plays are coming out, new attitudes that are changing all of that. The 60s did its number on people, and that's important. But it's important for you to go out and find a theater that's not going to be that way. And there's a lot of them here in Austin where you can go in and your ethnic background has nothing to do with the part you get. And that's important. Things are changing in that line. But television and movies, it's different for television. There's still very much some blocks there. The Jeffersons, as we know, is written by white people. It's a very good show, highly rated, but it's not written by blacks. And I think that the day needs to come when black writers are developed. And it's not that they're not encouraged. The people in California, since I've gotten to know some of them, they said that there's just not that many. Now, I can't believe that, but yet you look at the education, a lot of young people don't have the opportunities to become writers. You know, they got to go out and work. And that's important, too. But Cheryl Hawkins, our friend, she came from the ghetto of New Orleans. She was in a gang. She came out of that gang, and now she's one of the best writers in Texas.
Excellent.
Someday in television, those writers will work their way into that media, and you'll have the Jeffersons written by blacks, and it will all be on the floor because then the humor will be pure. And before that can happen, you've got to get young people today interested in those careers. And so this is the process. You know, you start now. You find an interesting English teacher who's going to say, do I have any of these talents? And if she's a good teacher, she'll be honest. And that's another thing. Let's talk about teachers.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. You know, what subject you thought that played a very important part to your, you know, career and Or if there were any.
There were. He was quite a character. We called him Spanky. You know, teachers have nicknames. And this was a little bitty guy, you know, and he was always into the book. And I was on the age, and I'd thumb through, and I didn't always follow. And he would be talking. He had little short hands, and he was always doing funny things with his hands. They called him Spanky. But there was something about his class that I did like. So I would take out sometimes when I get bored, and I would be reading a novel. And he would just talk. He grabbed my book one day and just threw it out the window. And I had to go retrieve it at lunch hour. And later he says, I want to see you after class. And he caught me after class, and he says, why are you doing this? He says, you obviously enjoy the class. You're turning in good work. He says, your spelling is atrocious, and it always still is. I still can't spell.
And mine too.
And he says, you got to do something. You know, he says, now what do you want to do? He says, there's something trying to come out here. And he inspired me, and that's all he had to do was just say, you know, what do you got going here? What do you want to do? And some teachers will do more. But if someone gives you a little spark, a teacher, you know, you should try and follow it through. Ignore the teachers who obviously don't like you because they are a dime a dozen. And it's like the people who call you names on the side. You got to tune those teachers out and concentrate on the things that are really good for you. Because if you're going to quit school because you don't like the teacher, you know, or the scene at the school is going, hey, you're just one less more we have to deal with. So you got to beat them at their own game. You got to stay in there and succeed.
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you said that because that is my philosophy also.
It's very true.
Young people that all the time. You know.
It's a rough business, school teaching and going to school. It works both ways. And teachers, you know, they have this wonderful philosophy of going, I'm going to go out and teach the world. I have it. And after a while, you know, you get bogged down in some of the things that the school system puts on you, and some of those teachers get tired.
Absolutely.
And it's as hard for them to stay fresh as it is for you to achieve a goal. So, you know, you got to remember that. But there are a lot of bad teachers out there who discourage you, and you just got to blow them off.
And you have an excellent way of saying that. Would I be asking too much to ask you if you would just say or do one of the
Aunt Pearl.
Aunt Pearl.
Oh, I don't have my hat here. Oh, but she has a little hat. Oh, she visits the funeral. Well, you know, Aunt Pearl doesn't like to go out. Oh, it just kills her.
Is that right?
Oh, she hates people.
Oh.
Well, she wants to be left alone, you know. But people just always are asking her to do TV, and she just won't do it. But her niece, Bertha, comes out all the time. She just loves to get out and talk. We do television. We'll put the wigs on and throw on glasses. I think some people may say, we have such a good time doing that. I think people want to laugh, Ada.
Yes,
I think they do.
Absolutely.
And if you can make them laugh, God, you know, you've got your job set out for you. We need laughs in this day and age.
I thought I felt bad Tuesday before I went. I almost didn't go to the show for some reason or the other. You know, I'm a homebody person, and I kind of like being home after I get off work, and I almost didn't go. And then after, you know, after having gotten there and looking at the show and I'm telling you, I'm so glad I went. You know, it's just beautiful.
A lot of people are complaining about the ticket prices. You know, saying, "My gosh, it's $16 a ticket." Well, you know, concerts are more.
Well, yes.
But it is a show that's come for $5 when it first opened in Austin 2 years ago. But it's been to New York. They have the woman who did the lights for Greater Tuna did Annie on Broadway. Our costume designer did Mornings at 7. You're looking at Tony nominations. You know, people you see each year. These people are professionals, thousands of dollars they make, and they have to be paid.
Absolutely.
So when a show goes on the road and comes to the Paramount, it's a union house, tickets go up.
Absolutely.
But if you can save up the money, it really is, and I'm not saying come because but it really is worth it. If you're interested in being an actor, you should, because it shows you how character acting can really work.
Right.
And we've been doing it for 2 years. I'm going to become Aunt Pearl.
How do you make that transition, you know? Do you ever catch yourself actually, you know, it took me a while to come down from being Sister Moore, because when I walk the street, you know, there goes Sister Moore, you know. And how do you handle that? How do you
Well, as you know, coming down after a show, as they say, or after a show ends, it's hard. But when you're playing multi-characters, what you do is you become a living schizophrenic. You just walk around and they come out. I have never had any problems with that, Ada. It came, once again, we go back to the word discipline. A lot of actors will become so involved with the part, you know, that it takes them a while. And I've worked with actors like that. If it's in your heart, sometimes it's really hard to get rid of.
Yes.
But I've always had so many things else that I wanted to do that when the stage came down, I was ready to go home and paint. So I just left it at the stage door. I think it's important for an actor to remember that a lot of this is just a bunch of, you know, method acting and technique. They're both legitimate.
Right.
But when the curtain comes down, the characters stay on stage. You know, and that's very important to remember, because that's part of the fun. You know, I mean, it is magic. That's what you're performing is magic, like a magician. And when his act's over, it's folded up and put into a box.
Absolutely.
That's
to
what
the
you
next
gotta do.
performance. And you know, and having to play all those parts, I was having difficulty in trying to figure out how in the world did you learn all those parts like that? You know, and to put them all together like this.
The putting them together was interesting because you had, I played two women in the show. But the two women cannot be back to back because their voices may be similar. And I do like 3 or 4 rednecks in the show. And they do sound alike. You know, they all talk like this. But the walk, I had to make the walk different. I had to make the way they carry their shoulders. The sheriff's pot-bellied. I have a fat stomach for that, as if I didn't have one already. Reverend Spikes. They're
wonderful.
Yeah, they're crazy, but they all have a different little way of operating. And when we first started the show,
and you in the green pantsuit, I shall never forget it, with your back to the audience. That was most funny.
She leans over, she has this broad hind end. Bertha has great big hips.
Absolutely.
And in a polyester pantsuit.
Yes.
She's
Green,
bright green, lime green. That outfit is an original Texas outfit, that Nat Pearl's dress. But, you know, in the early stages, Bertha, the mother, came out with the radio announcer's mustache on one time. So it does happen. Sometimes you... But now we have dressers back there, professional dressers from New York, who make all that happen very quickly. And they're excellent. I mean, there's as much going on off stage as on stage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's different theater, for sure. There's a lot of companies rising up. A lot of people want to do Greater Tuna around the country.
Oh, wonderful.
And, but we're still doing the national tour, and it won't be released till then. But it's flattering to me as a writer to have all these people wanting to do your work.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And all these character actors out there in America are going, oh, just let me get my hands on those parts, you know, because I'm going to play a woman. I can do what Dustin Hoffman did.
Yeah.
I met Dustin Hoffman in New York.
Did you?
And his Tootsie was an excellent example of a man totally getting involved in a character. And I didn't see Dustin Hoffman, you know, camping and being weird on the film. He approached that realistically, and I think America really loved him as an actor for trying that. And it feels good as a performer when you can take on anything and accomplish it.
Right.
Really admired his work in that.
It's wonderful. Oh, do you realize the time is about up?
We have yapped. I promised you talking would be no problem with me.
And it's just been so wonderful. But I just need one last question from you, and that would be, what would be your advice to students, young people, who are thinking about the acting career? Right.
To sum up all we talked about, the discipline of finding somewhere to go and do it and practice it with others. Telling yourself, I'm going to get out and do this, and I'm going to get involved with people who do it, go into a community theater, and from there, taking it to the professional or semi-professional level, and you can find them in the area. You know, one thing will lead to another. That's the best advice. Start off one step at a time, and when you get good enough that you feel good, you can get an agent, go to New York, whatever. But start off one step at a time. Find a place for that outlet and get started. If it's not school, there are programs after school.
That's wonderful. Excellent. Well, just want to say thank you so very, very much for coming to be on our show.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. And we want to remind the students out there that listening to Mr. Sears here this morning and all of the exciting things that he's done on the show and everything, and I'm still rolling inside. I'm still up there. I really appreciate your coming. And we want you to know that whatever you intend to pursue as a career, and if it be the acting career, just remember that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be lots of competition and everything, but if you really want it, work for it, because it is your future.
That's right.
Thank you.